All right. Well, I want to be respectful of the time of all of our attendees, so I'm going to get started. We are recording the meeting in case you have to step away or leave early, or anybody who's watching this recording in the future. Thanks for checking it out. We will also send you a copy of the presentation afterwards. But my name is Brianna, and I am excited to host this webinar of real life strategies from principals to improve behavior and culture across your campuses. And just some other housekeeping things. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. Jordan is one of my coworkers, and she will be manning the chat for me. And so we also will be having a raffle at the end. So stay tuned if you want to, get a little incentive out of this. But all right, and our agenda here. So um, what we will be covering. Our goal is to keep this within 30 minutes, and I have structured it into three different categories, as you will. So the first one is rewards and culture building tips, buy-in and celebration, analyzing data and getting results. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end, and that's also when we'll do our raffle. Again, feel free to type questions in the chat at any time, though you don't have to save them until the end. And so we are going to be using Slido to keep the presentation interactive. So in order to join that, you're not required by any means, but you can scan the QR code, or you can go to slido.com and enter in 8889995. And I'll put this code in the chat in case anybody misses it. So slido.com, and then it's 8889995. This will allow you to submit answers and kind of display on the screen. So I'll give people a few seconds just to get that going. All right. I also see a few other people join, so welcome. I'm excited to have everyone here. So the Slido code is in the chat, and I'm gonna take us into our first section, which is rewards and culture building at your school. So, uh, when creating rewards for your school, you really want to try to create something that is sustainable for your school. And so I will preface that all these tips and tricks have come from real school leaders who have, I asked for their advice. I asked what they would want me to say, with this. And these were like the top four things that I was hearing. First one is experiential rewards. So, using things that are free and cost effective, like lunch with the principal, playing basketball with friends, or even one of our schools was talking about how they let a student be security guard for the day. And so it allows you to, connect with your students one-on-one, give them an experience, and also a nice reward or a special treat at the end of the day. The next biggest piece of advice that I have heard is to try to make it budget friendly. Now, whether that is finding free or low cost rewards for your students, such as, a pass to jump to the front of the lunch line, being able to use their phone during, recess or lunch, and even those popsicles, I think they're called Otter Pops, is what I've been hearing, or one of our, I would say, famous live school recognized rewards is Uber by a principal, where the principal has to use the principal's chair to Uber the students to their next class, which is super fun. And when planning out those reward options, you don't want to forget those key stakeholders in this, which is your students, your parents, and your community members. So first tip for that is just to survey your students and staff on what rewards you feel like they would like to see offered across their school or across your school with that, and even reaching out to families or local businesses in your community to see if they're interested in donating things to be offered in your rewards store. Some examples that I've seen, one school that I was talking to contacted a local barber shop in their community, and the barber actually came to their school and did haircuts for the boys who just wanted a fresh cut as like an incentive again for, I believe they had to have like perfect attendance or something like that to get that reward. Some of those larger things, one of our schools in Florida, the NFL team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, will donate, NFL tickets that they then raffle off to that. So that's obviously a larger item, but some examples of things I've seen. And just a bonus tip of advice that I heard from a school was that they looked at the day that their attendance was lowest. And that's the day that they open their reward store. I feel like it's typically Fridays or Mondays, right? And so that's just my bonus tip for you in terms of trying to plan out your rewards and incentives there. We on the Live School website do also have a database called the Rewards That Rock. It's linked in the links at the end, and in case you would like to look for more ideas, and it's updated all the time as we get more ideas sent in to us. And so now I want to start with our first school story that I wanted to feature, which is Herbert Carver Magnet School. They are a K-6 school in Arkansas. And one of their big goals when bringing on Live School was to reduce the referral and behavior incidents across their school and just really try to get students excited about the platform or program that they were using there. So here is a clip from Sean Gray. Sean Gray is the assistant principal, and he just has some really great things to say about their school here.
And I got to spend some time with those kids and play basketball with them, and we had an absolute blast. It was way more fun than even I expected it to be. I got to see another side of them that I had got to see, and since then, those kids, anytime an issue looks like it's coming up between them and some other kids, they come to me and they're saying, "Hey, there's something going on here. Like, can you help us with this?" Whereas before, they weren't coming to anybody, and then it was just festering and spewing, and we were having a lot of drama. And I can tell you personally, with that group of kids that was having the drama, it has, I'm not going to say it's zero, but it has gone down tremendously. But those kids feel comfortable coming to me and telling me things. And I don't think it would have happened without having that relationship time where we were playing basketball in the gym, and these kids just loved playing basketball, and they weren't basketball kids. Like they don't even play basketball. They just wanted to come in there and spend some time with Coach Gray. So
That's
uh,
awesome.
relationship building.
We don't need to hear it again.
We actually divided it.
Apologize. If you want to see the full podcast episode, I did link that down there though. And so now I'm curious from all of you, what reward ideas do you think your students would enjoy, or what successful rewards have you offered? So this is your first Slido experience. If you've never used it before, you'll just type in on the Slido website any ideas that you have there for reward ideas. Oh, earn a free period. That's a good one of, getting some free time. Or the VIP desk, basketball. Oh, I like the fancy lunch. Somebody I was hearing calls it fine dining lunch or something like that. One of our schools has an ice cream party. Oh, virtual field trips. That is always a fun one. Awesome. All right. I don't see anybody else typing, but this is a cool, nice little list here of just getting to hear your perspective and hopefully find some, reward ideas or things that you could take, away from, hopefully implement soon. So next section that I wanted to touch on is increasing buy-in and celebrating not only your staff, but also your students. So in turn, that buy-in is, important at every level, right? And so here are some pieces of advice that I have heard about keeping your staff and your students connected in your behavior recognition system. So keeping them involved from the beginning is one of the biggest things that I try to advise when a school asks me, like, hey, I need, my staff and student buy-in. And so that's the first thing, starting from the beginning. Ask for their input, whether that is just simply talking to your students or surveying your teachers on how do you think we should be tracking behavior at our school? What behaviors do you think is important to recognize? And even asking the students, like, what behaviors do you feel like I should be holding you accountable for? And then also even asking them and getting them involved with the store. What rewards motivate you? What would get you excited to come to school? And asking the teachers, what motivates you to use this incentive system that we want to put in place here? I have also seen in like middle and high schools of doing student run stores in terms of that reward store of really trying to get that student leadership, student empowerment, not empowership, new word there, to again just increase that voice and just feeling connected into that process there. Then, as you're continuing to use your system of asking for feedback to, you know, just continuously grow and evaluate the plot or the program that you're putting in place. So, some examples of ways that I've seen this done are sending out a quarterly survey for your students and staff with questions that could be simple as, how do you feel like our system is working? Do you have any other ideas or also things aligned to your goals? Like, do you feel more motivated to come to school? Do you feel excited or recognized by your teachers? Things like that. And lastly, don't forget to celebrate all of this. Behavior recognition systems are exciting and awesome, and you're doing them for a reason, right? You want to bring more positivity across your school. So some examples that I've seen are celebrating the top teacher. One of our schools calls it the Teacher on Fire Award, and they have a trophy that gets passed to the teacher who's given out the most live school points, and they get really excited and hype them all up. And also your top student. So maybe at the end of every quarter or every marking period of really just trying to figure out who that top student is using your data, which we'll get to at the end of the presentation, but to figure out like who is that student that's working really hard that I want to recognize there. So, and teacher rewards. How could I forget that? Of, finding the things again that get your teachers excited, whether that's offering like an extra prep period or a special VIP parking space as just again, bringing those rewards, we're not here just to reward students, right? You want to get buy-in from your teachers and your staff also. And so just trying to incentivize them for that. So the next story that I wanted to tell is Westdale Middle School. The principal at Westdale, she actually became principal mid-year last year. She was the interim principal first. And the buy-in was really low. She just noticed like morale was just low across the entire board at the school. And really wanted to try to do some other things also. So morale was a big thing, but also the truancy, suspension, and behavior rates were really high. And so I wanted to share her voice next, just so you can hear some of the impact that's happened. Thankfully, she was brought on as the full-time principal, and so this is all the work she's been doing this school year at her school.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate that the leadership team was like, "Hey, we're going to give it a good old college try." When I first became principal, everybody told me it's going to take about 3 years for you to really see change. Pick two or three things that you can change and focus on this year. But when I was looking last school year, there were 15 teachers that quit during the school year here. And I recognized that we did not have 3 years to turn things around. That sense of urgency was so necessary. We were losing very competent and passionate teachers. We were allowing this love of education to the flame to just go out. And I recognized that we didn't have time to do that. We needed to do a total transformation in the 8 weeks of summer and come back and hit it hard. So having that team, how it was described to me by one of our leadership team members was, we were always on the bus, we just needed a bus driver, and I said, well, I just hopped in. I was like, I got my CDL, let's do it. So, and they brought into the fact that we needed to have that sense of urgency, and we needed to not change two or three things. We needed to hit about 12 things, and we needed to really do it effectively and with fidelity. And I will say that I'm very proud that we did that. We really did what we were supposed to do. And one of my supervisors asked Coach Romero one day, like, what are you most proud of this school year? And she said that we did what we said we were going to do. Every year we plan a bunch of stuff and we don't necessarily follow it through, but this year we did. And very excited with Live School. It has had such an impact on just the positive nature of the culture, but numerically, when we get into suspensions and we get into expulsions, when we get into attendance, it is completely night and day from last year. And like last year, first semester, I think we had like 133 children who met the definition for truant. And this year, first semester, at the end of the semester, we only have 4. But I'm going to tell you one thing that I do think helped. By having our teachers in a house, right? Not only when the house wins, not only do the students get PBIS, so do the adults. So our adults are hearing their names being on the announcement. When they are getting, teacher of the month recognition, when they're getting recognitions, they realize it feels really good. It feels really good. And to have a principal that says, I'm not like, well, you get paid to do this job. You should come to work every day and you should do these things. To be recognized for your efforts, they realize it feels good. So I feel like sometimes, and most times, showing is better than telling. When we set out as a leadership team to put the teachers in the house and to recognize them and reward them as their house works, it wins, that was intentional. And we're noticing that some of those teachers who was not real big fans of extrinsic motivation, because they've experienced how good it feels and how motivating it is, we're winning them over.
Yeah, I apologize for some reason it wasn't going big, but you got the idea. You heard her voice and her talking about it. Jordan in the chat put their full story in there if you want to hear a little bit more. But already this year, as you're seeing, they've seen a 44% decrease in suspensions and decrease in truancy and fights, and all of those, data just show their work, and they're doing some incredible work down there. And that's in Louisiana there. And I do have another
I can't tell you how
Slido
much I
for
appreciate
you.
it.
So this one's a poll. I'm curious, how many of your staff and also students, I guess we could include in here, do you feel like would get excited about, a positive recognition system at your school? Awesome. It looks like, okay, we had 5 participants and we're seeing, most, if not all. I'm thankful you have none, or nobody put none there in that category. But just getting you kind of thinking about, how your staff would feel, in terms of getting that buy-in and connection there. So our final section, and I was just checking, seems like we're doing okay on time so far, is analyzing data and getting those results. So, behavior data does, tell a story, right? I feel like honestly, data is driving so much of our world and our school systems right now. And so nice thing is that within Live School, you can use all of that behavior data to check in on your goals and just see how things are going. to be able to be proactive, find those trends and take action. Also, just being able to support buy-in. One of the most common things I get asked is like, can I see my staff usage, right? Like, I want to make sure, let's check in on that buy-in we were just talking about in the previous section, and being able to just track and support. And at the end of the day, making, data-driven change for your school that's aligned to what the goals are saying. So, for example, here are some of the behavior reports that you can see in Live School. So let's say that our goal for the month of April, was to focus on students coming prepared, right? So automatically here, I can not only see this chart and trends I guess I should say March. Sorry, it's March that I pulled this data from. But to see that and to be able to figure out, okay, we got a lot of students coming prepared, but why were those 67? What happened there? And even pulling, additional data on that to figure out like which students was it or where, to try to figure out like, oh, maybe it's just that students weren't coming with their Chromebook charged, right? And then kind of trying to be proactive as a team, or incentivizing, or not, be reflective, not incentivizing, of how in April can we get that coming prepared number to not be 67 again, or even, improve upon that. And you're also getting a picture of what I was mentioning with the top teachers down here, to use this data point to quickly figure out, like Bonnie Homewood is that teacher on fire we were talking about, right? Is handing out points like candy. But I also maybe want to check in, with Miss Davis here and figure out like, hey, what's going on with this, just 190 points that have kind of been given out there. So that's just an example of what we were just saying, of pulling that data, using it to check in on your goals, and really trying to be actionable and supportive when it comes to that approach. But the people who tell this story better is Freedom Crossing Academy. And Freedom Crossing Academy is a K-8 school in St. John County in Florida. Their big goals were alignment as a staff. They really just wanted to get everyone on the same page with how they were, handling behavior and recognizing behavior across their school. And their big overarching goal was improving that school culture. So, as a result, some of the results they've shared with us is that their students are just generally kinder and more compassionate humans in their day-to-day, and feeling that greater sense of community. But one thing that they told us is that they use their data weekly in their PLCs and their meetings in order to do exactly what we were just mentioning, of reflecting on their goals, being actionable, and just trying to have clearer school-wide expectations. But they say it best. So here is their school talking about their
One
journey.
thing that we do here well is our professional learning communities, and we have a
And it's also, okay, clearly,
PBIS
apologize for some
member from every grade level on the team. So when they're meeting in those professional learning communities, they're able to talk about behavior and they look at data. So for example, after we meet with our PBIS team, they review the live school data and we look for those common trends. And they go back, and new teachers especially who might be struggling with classroom management are able to get some coaching and some additional assistance. And I'm so proud of our PBIS team for doing that. Looking at the data, coming together every month, and we problem solve. As a team, we are problem solving on what are some incentives we can do school-wide? What are some ways that our students could break barriers? How do we do school-wide incentives or grade level incentives for students who are just going above and beyond on earning their live school points?
So the great thing about our live school reports is great to pull that data and really dissect it and see what time of the day behaviors are happening. Is it with a particular grade level? So to watch the trends of that was really great. To really dissect it. We looked at it, we brought in incentives, and we noticed there was the slide going down. Let's push out a grade level incentive. So it's really neat to see those trends go up and down and really have a conversation with the teachers. As a PBIS team member, we would meet monthly and go over the behavior trends and data. And then as a team member, I would go back to our PLC and I would present it and we would have discussions about it. If we have teachers, beginning teachers, mid, veterans, and we would offer ideas and suggestions and really mentor classroom management and how we can really incorporate Live School more into our classrooms.
One thing that we do here well is our
All right. So thinking about data here, um, how do you all feel like you could use this data or just behavior data in general in your school?
one thing that we do here well.
Yeah, it looks like just being able to see the teacher usage, that definitely, like with the ticket system, can be quite challenging, right? To figure out like who is handing out tickets, right? Seeing case and behavior team. Oh, using to determine like who needs a check-in, check-out or break, tiered interventions, definitely of planning accordingly, right? Of like even what interventions are working, what are, what are not working. Yeah, that's a great thought of just like bringing some positivity. So often, you're right. Like when we go into data meetings, it's discussing the referral numbers, the absences, right? Who's doing, the negative things and just having some positive things there. Also seeing just recognizing areas where students, need the most improvement and where they're excelling. Yeah. So again, bringing some of the positive, I'm still having some of those, the demerits and data and all of that there. Awesome. All right. So we're doing a great job of keeping this in the 30 minutes. I was really nervous about that. So first I want to open it up to just Q&A, just general questions in general, about anything that we saw today, any advice, and then we'll raffle off our gift card. And then I had another podcast clip just to share with you all to close us out. But first, just opening up to questions. I haven't seen any pop up in the chat so far, but anybody have any questions as we're closing out here? Yeah, Jordan put the link to the podcast in the chat. It's also on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts. I check it out weekly. I think it's just a really nice way to hear from school administrators just all across the country who are really digging into this work and have some awesome stories to share. All right, not seeing any questions. If people do have questions as we continue, I will give you my contact information at the end. But as promised, I want to do this clip, and then I have a nice wheel to do our raffle. But I also see, Ryan, I'm going to read your question here. Using a ticket system to use tickets again or a computer system. So what are some of the positives of paper versus something digital? So I think that one of the, what are some ways to suggest Live School over tickets? Okay. So some of the first things I personally, and also I should preface this is backed on like conversations that I have every day with schools that are looking to switch from paper to something digital. And so one of the biggest pros is establishing that consistency across your school. So, you might have some consistency in how you hand out your paper tickets right now, but of really just aligning that behavior rubric of what behaviors you want to recognize across your school, but also of having data. That I think is something that is very, very hard. And some people do it with a paper system, and Ryan, you might. But of being able to actually at the end of the day say, we've recognized this many students for coming prepared, this many students for being respectful. And here's what teachers have done that, and really just being able to be on the same page with that recognition. And some of the nice things is, particular with live school, but I would also say many digital systems, you can connect your families to the process. And so they're a stakeholder that with a paper system is relying on their kid going home at the end of the day and be like, I got a ticket, right? I got a ticket from Miss Snyder today. And with the digital system, connecting your families, they get an automatic weekly update in live school, and they get to see like all the good things that their child is doing. So I feel like I could go on, but those are with the immediate big things that I think are good to consider when suggesting, live school over, keeping your current paper ticket system there. And I did see that Jordan also put a resource in the chat that you can check out. Any other questions? That was definitely, it's a good question. I think it's a hard conversation too, right? To start to have of some people are so loving of their paper system and need a little bit of, suggestion on how a digital system could help them. Well, I'm also kind of pondering it. This is a personal preference. I do think that tracking in a digital system is quicker, because you can just tap, 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 move on. Whereas if you want to give all of your class a ticket right now, you have to individually, hand out those there. All right, so I'm gonna play this clip and then I will have the wheel already all fired up to do our raffle here to close this out.
And unacknowledged, it might not ever happen again. And we want to make sure we're doing that. So to me, it's just that reinforcement that kids, what you're doing is the right thing, and we just want to acknowledge it.
Absolutely. And last question for you. If you had a billboard that you could put up any message you wanted that every assistant principal would see on their way to work in the morning, just curious if there's a message or something that you really value as an educator that you would want to put up there.
Oh, man. We have to remember every single day that learning is fun. You have to make school has to be fun. It has to be enjoyable. I'm lucky enough I get to work in a K through 5 system. Kids still love coming to school. For the most part, kids still do. And it makes the job fun. It makes it fun for the kids. Kids are more willing to learn when school's fun. When they get to middle school and high school, I know that kind of goes away. I spent the majority of my career actually in a high school setting. I know that joy of coming to school is not always there every day. It declines a little bit. One of the things I like to tell our teachers, especially those 5th grade teachers, that sometimes, teaching is a very, very tough profession. And sometimes there's days that just kind of get to you. One of my ultimate goals for the kids is, hey, by the time they leave 5th grade, I still want them be excited to come to school. I want school to be fun. If they still understand that learning is fun, when kids graduate high school, if they still think learning is fun, they can grow up and do anything that they want to do, because they know that learning new things is fun, and we're always learning things. I'm still learning things every day. I want kids to think learning is fun. Live School is one of those programs that it reminds us that school is fun, and we get to have really, really fun things. Today, I get to have a fine dining experience with one of my kids. It's one of the highlights of my day. I got so excited waking up today and realizing, oh my goodness, I got a fine dining experience.
Yeah, I chose that clip to end us out because I just really loved the school should be fun, right? And so, as promised, I will pull up our raffle, but let's see, I gotta switch tabs here for that. So give me a second here. All right, I have a nice little wheel fired up here with the names of our participants here. So let's see. All right, congrats to Chris. We are awarding you a $25 gift card for participating today as our nice little raffle there. So we'll be in touch to get you that information. And let me bring my presentation back up to just show you a few things. I apologize. My screen sharing was paused. There we go. You don't need to listen to that clip again or join the slide again. Okay, so as you mentioned, we'll share the slides out to this. At the end, there is these helpful links. So there are a few things that were mentioned throughout the presentation, such as the rewards.rock database, some other guide to just school culture, maximizing feedback, podcast. So this is a nice place to go if you're looking for more ideas, find yourself wanting some more when you're leaving today, or even when considering things like Ryan, your question about I'm trying to get your school to come on board with a digital system versus paper. So we have some things within there. And to close us out, just want to say big thank you to all the people who are in attendance here. I really appreciate you coming out and just also the work that you're doing every day. You wouldn't be here if you weren't, at least semi-interested or piqued in trying to help bring more positivity to your school and support your teachers and your students. And I admire so much the incredible work that you all are doing, especially this time of year. So uh, if you have any questions, if you're interested in learning more, or also if you just want to have a generally good chat about things in education or hear from um, me, or you just want to talk to me, feel free to connect. There's my email and my phone number. I am available and happy to, ask any questions. I'll also stay on a few minutes after, in case anybody has any other additional questions as we close out here. So again, just a big thank you. And I hope you all enjoyed this webinar. Also, if you have any feedback, this is my first time solo hosting a webinar. So if you have any feedback for me, I would also love to hear that. But all in all, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I really appreciate you all coming out.
I'm going to stop the recording if that works for you. Okay, perfect.